This is TWiT.
CloudFlare.
Oh, this is an
favorite
interesting
company.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, an interesting favorite company of ours. On March 15th, I'm reading from Cloudflare's announcement of what went on to set the stage. On March 15th, Cloudflare wrote, Cloudflare was sued by a patent troll called Sable Networks, a company that doesn't appear to have operated a real business in nearly 10 years, relying on patents that don't come close to the nature of our business or the services we provide. Here they said this is the second time we've faced a patent troll lawsuit. As readers of the blog or followers of the tech press, as you know, ZDNet and TechCrunch will remember, and I'm sure we talked about it at the time, they said back in 2017, Cloudflare responded aggressively to our first encounter with a patent troll, Blackbird Technologies, making clear we would not simply go along and agree to a nuisance settlement as part of what we considered an unfair, unjust, and inefficient system that throttled innovation and threatened emerging companies. If you don't want to read all of our previous blog posts on the issue, you can watch the scathing criticisms of patent trolling provided by John Oliver or the writers of Silicon Valley. They said, we committed to fighting back against patent trolls in a way that would turn the normal incentive structure on its head. In addition to defending the case aggressively in the courts, we also founded Project Django, J-E-N-G-O, a crowdsourced effort to find evidence of prior art to invalidate all of Blackbird's patents, not only the one asserted against Cloudflare. It was a great success. We won the lawsuit, invalidated one of the patent troll's other patents, and published prior art on 31 of Blackbird's patents that anyone could then use to challenge those patents or to make it easier to defend against overbroad assertion of those patents. And most importantly, Blackbird Technologies went from being one of the most prolific patent trolls in the United States to shrinking its staff and filing many fewer cases. We're going to do it again, and we need your help. They said, turning the tables, a $100,000 bounty for prior art. Sable Networks and its lawsuit fit neatly within the same troubling trends we were trying to address the first time we launched Project Django. Sable is taking ancient 20-year-old patents and trying to stretch those patents light years beyond what they were meant to cover. It has already sued over a dozen technology companies, and I don't think I have it here, but like Cisco and Juniper Networks, and, you know, won settlements. That's what these people do, right? It's more expensive to fight the lawsuit than it is just to pay these people off. So that's their profit model. And Cloudflare says, F no. They said it's already sued over a dozen technology companies targeting a wide range of different products and services, and by extending its claims to a company like Cloudflare, suggests it may next try to stretch its claims to people that merely use routers, namely anyone that uses the internet. We think Sable's choice to bring these lawsuits on such a tenuous basis should come with some risk related to the underlying merits of its patent and its arguments. So we are sponsoring another prior art contest, seeking submissions to identify prior art for all of Sable's active patents. We're seeking the help of the Cloudflare community to identify prior art, i.e., evidence that the patented technology was already in use or known before the patent application was filed, that can be used to invalidate Sable's patents. And we will make it worth your while, they wrote, by offering $100,000 to be shared among the winners who are successful in finding such prior art. They said, again this time, we are committing $100,000 to be split among entrants who provide what we determine to be the most useful prior art references that can be used in challenging the validity of Sable's patents. You can submit prior art references as long as Sable's case is pending against us. And then they cite Sable Networks, Inc. versus CloudFlare, Inc., and they have the case number. And then I noted ADA, and then it says in parens, WD.tex. Well, ADA is Alan D. Albright, a.k.a. the infamous Judge Albright, who is exceedingly patentee-friendly. And his jurisdiction is WD, Texas, the Western District of Texas. They said every 3 months for 2 years or until the case ends, whichever comes first, we will select winners from the submissions to date and give out a portion of the $100,000 as awards. Once the case ends, we will select final winners from all submissions and award the remaining funds. We will also make all relevant submissions available to the public. So anyway, their post goes on at some length. And it's all really interesting to anyone who has a passion, as I do, and I know, Leo, you do. We've talked about this a number of times on the podcast, for issues surrounding intellectual property rights and the abuse thereof, unfortunately, by the U.S. Patent system. In this in the posting, I have a link in the show notes, they explain how Sable sues companies, then settles out of court just before the deadline to actually make their case. It's pure patent trolling harassment, and it makes our blood boil. And I have more here. I don't think there's anything else relevant that I haven't talked about.
Yeah, we went through this almost exact situation with the patent. The podcast patent troll.
Oh, the podcast troll, right.
And, Cloudflare's offering a reward of $100,000 for prior art, which is, of course, what you want to find. There are a couple of ways you can fight this stuff, and it's interesting. We actually hired a law firm to prepare us for this because we got a demand letter from these guys for, I can't remember, $1 million or something. The EFF chose one path, which was you can do a intra partes challenge of the patent itself with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So you go to them and you say, "Here's prior art. This is evidence that this patent was
not original.
Was not original. Others had done this before." Yep. And you hope that the PTO will overturn the patent, and then the whole thing goes up in smoke. There's a risk. Our attorneys told us if you lose, that's really going to prejudice the case against you because that loss with the Patent and Trademark Office will be brought up at court.
Further strengthens the patent.
So
yes.
It's a risky process, which we had decided not to pursue. Our attorneys said just ignore it until they, sue you. They did sue a number of people, including Adam Carolla, who raised money and fought it. He did what Cloudflare is going to do. He took it to court, and they lost in court. But actually, maybe it was the other way around. No, I'm sorry. The EFF did the intra partes, and won the Patent and Trademark Office as this parallel Adam Carolla court case is going on. And the PTO overturned the patent, and then the whole thing was over. So, but Adam Carolla spent a lot of money, I think. I mean, he raised the money from contributors, but he was going to fight this, and that's what you have to do because what happens is the little guys give them money, and then they go to the next big guys, they get more money, and they're building up a war chest eventually to go after Apple and Google and whoever and get the big bucks. And so at some point, somebody has to say, no, we're going to court. And it's funny because I love Lisa for this. She never will. She says, you don't ever settle because once you settle, we'll go down in flames. She said, once you settle, the word goes out. Oh yeah, they'll settle. So we never settle. Everybody should know that. we go to the court because that's the only way you can stop this. You just have to fight it. And the reason it works is because they usually ask. This patent troll was dumb with us. they usually ask for an amount that's less than the cost of fighting it.
Right.
Our attorney said it's going to cost you about $250,000 to fight it. He asked for $1 million.
Oh.
Stupid. He should have asked for $240,000. And then the reasonable, intelligent business thing to do, we still wouldn't have done it, would have been to say, okay. But, we've been sued a couple of times since then for amounts just, low enough so that you go, oh, here. And in every case, we fight it, even though it costs us more, because it's just not. And we've always won.
It's wrong.
By the way.
It's
wrong.
Yeah. And so it is. A lot of people assume that a patent means something.
It means nothing. It means the right to defend it in court.
Yes, a patent is literally a license to be sued.
Yeah.
It is. First of all, anybody can patent anything that they want to. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be reasonable. And our patent office it's a hard job. And so I have some sympathy for them, but the presumption is that they are really doing due diligence and making sure that something that someone submits as claiming that I invented something, more often than not, it's just engineering. I look at these patents, and anybody who came out the other end of a university with a degree in the subject would go, well, that's the way you solve this problem.
Right.
So
it's obvious. It's an obvious solution. Yeah.
Yes. And Microsoft was, as a technologist, as a coder, I looked at many of Microsoft's patents early on, and the only thing that happened was that they faced a problem before somebody else. And anyone trained in the art, and that is actually the language of the patent law, it is supposed to be non-obvious to anyone trained in the art, meaning that some other programmer is given this problem, they go, oh, here's how you solve that. Well, Microsoft was leading the development of software, so their programmers encountered problems that other programmers hadn't encountered. Well, they patented everything. Patent sneezing to the right. And, because most people don't do, it's like it was insane. So
and the presumption is, they even say this, the PTO says this, we expect if there's an issue that it'll go to court and it'll be solved there. And I think probably they don't have the examiners and the time to do it right. So
yeah,
they do the best they can, but ultimately all they're saying.
And what mature companies end up doing, and this is what they will say when you challenge them, is, well, we're building a patent portfolio so that we can cross-license other large companies' patent portfolios. And so it's sort of an insider large corporate thing that goes on, and unfortunately the little guy is the one who ends up being in trouble. So anyway, bravo to Cloudflare. I wanted to put this on our listeners' radar. I've got a link in the show notes. They go. In fact, even in my show notes, I go on at great length about Caspian and this other company that Sable. For anyone who's interested, can just read more than I'm going to put into the podcast, because there's no need to go into additional detail. But Cloudflare is worried that if this company is allowed to keep going, they're going to start suing people who process packets, because there's this notion of tagging packets to be part of a flow, which was a technology that the firm that went out of business, Caspian, tried to market this thing, and they probably went belly up. Sable probably bought their intellectual property portfolio out of bankruptcy with the intention of pursuing this. Anyway, so what Cloudflare is worried about is that these guys really do need to be stopped. Secondarily to the fact that it's wrong, and that also that Cloudflare's been sued, and of course it's a good idea. It's prudent from Cloudflare's standpoint to send the message out that you sue us, we're going to invalidate your entire patent portfolio, you troll, and put you out of business. So anyway, cool stuff.
Yeah. Non-practicing entity is the polite name.
Yes, non-practicing entities.
Yeah.
Yes, we even have a phrase and an acronym for these slime balls. Yeah.